Just take a look at this right here. This is what people are driving on. This was a huge fire. Horry County Fire Rescue tell me there was about 30 firefighters on the scene, as well as 12 engines and trucks. They tell me that 2 people were killed, both children, 12 and 13 years old. The mayor spoke to us earlier in the morning, and he said that the community needs to come together, and that's exactly what they did at a vigil at noon today. This is what is usually Ocean Boulevard at North Myrtle Beach. As you can see, it's kind of more on the ocean side as opposed to the boulevard side right now. But I'm actually going to step behind the camera and show you guys how close this plane went down. If you guys can see, just about 150 feet back into the cornfield, Marion County law enforcement are actually right where the plane went down. Now in total, the district's going to be looking at paying at least $90 million back with this bond. One of the biggest issues is around 5 or 6 o'clock at rush hour when someone from the development is trying to turn out into this traffic, and all they can see down the street is a line of lights that are coming down the road. But through the solicitor's office, I was able to obtain every single bench warrant that is currently active throughout the entire county. I called Patrick Brave Jr. on the phone to see if he would be interested in talking about Thursday's incident, but when I mentioned who I was, the phone immediately cut off. When I called back, all I got was a voicemail. I decided to join her. According to weather reports, waves... This is a lot of people that are excited, and Megan, I'm going to be honest with you. I have my ticket right here for the 11:10 show, and as soon as we get off this, I'm going to go see it myself. So Megan, I'm going to send it back to you, and don't worry, I won't spoil it for you. Here in the park, they feel a little bit more comfortable. And it was quite a scene for a small town of only a few thousand residents. The people I spoke with today who witnessed the attack say it's something they'll never forget. On the hottest day of the year, no one was in the water at Oak Island Beach in North Carolina, and for good reason.
We're down at Oak Island Beach, and I think somebody's going to be a fire scarf on him.
A shark that just bit a girl's arm off.
Yeah, there's a girl whose hands bit off by a shark.
Like a little 10-year-old girl got bit by a shark, half her arms off.
Now the beach looks like a scene for a movie. Camera crews lined the sand and helicopters patrolled the water for sharks, not the vacation visitors expected.
I've never seen how much damage a shark can do in such a short amount of time.
Albert Rose is visiting from western North Carolina. He says the images from Sunday are something he'll never forget.
Seeing the girl come out of the water and her left arm was missing from the elbow down.
Rose says it took him a few moments to realize what happened. When he did, he acted fast.
I was asking for, some string or rope to tie around her to stop the bleeding, and I grabbed a surfboard and tied the cord around the upper part of her leg.
Rose tells me the girl's father tied off her arm to stop the bleeding, and an off-duty medic took over until EMS crews arrived. Officials said the fast action of beachgoers may have helped save the young girl's life, something Rose says he wishes never happened in the first place.
Very tragic. I've never witnessed nothing like that in my life.
Rose tells me he plans to visit the little girl in the hospital tomorrow in Wilmington. The 16-year-old boy attacked an hour and a half later on the same beach lost an arm. He's expected to be out of the hospital in a few days. Live in the studio, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13. I'm standing right here on Waccamaw Lake Drive, just a few feet from Highway 501, and today the name Waccamaw Lake Drive has probably never been more appropriate. Now, even though it's right off of Highway 501, it's a back road. Probably not a lot of people on the Grand Strand know about this road, and probably even less that make their way to the beach during the summer months have even thought about this road. But for a lot of people, like maybe those two that you can see right there behind me, this is their home. Probably one of the only days where people were going under the speed limit. Against the current, you'd be lucky to get a few miles per hour on your boat. For some, they were just seeing what the water did to their homes. Others had a lot more to worry about.
Important photographs, clothes, papers, some food so the meat won't rot.
And of course, you got this right here, right?
Yes, and a flat screen TV.
Winona Ray says her house is already flooded, and when high tide hits, she expects everything to be gone. She means everything. How do you guys make do? Do you have insurance for something like this?
No, I rent. I rent, so, and I don't have homeowners insurance, renter's insurance.
So Ray's life is now what she could fit in the boat and the back of her car. Some of the people only needed a boat to get what's most important back to dry land, and others didn't even have a boat. You guys look straight out of an apocalypse movie right now with the...
That's what I was telling her a little while ago. It was like The Walking Dead. Yeah.
Something like that. You got the Jesse Avery doesn't even live on the street. Instead, he was out helping a friend.
It's about 8 inches from the river cresting over their back porch, but it's already seeping in the side of their house.
While some are more than generous to help out a friend in need, Avery tells me he knows not everyone is the same.
Hopefully, the looters stay away. That's the other worry.
Something you're concerned about, really?
That's from what I've heard from from them, that in the past people come up and down on their boats and they'll break into houses. So
These are just a few stories over a few hours. Dozens of people made their way up and down the street, any way they could to try and save whatever pieces of their lives they could carry. Reporting here in Conway, I'm AJ Janavel. 27th Avenue South in North Myrtle Beach was packed, where more than 100 people gathered to honor Malaya. Even though the gathering was under sad circumstances, the family tells me the day was a happy one. From land, sea, and even air, the memory of Malaya Hyman lived on as more than 100 people joined Malaya's father, Misha, sitting right here in front of a picture of his daughter for one last paddle out in her honor.
Like a country bumpkin like me can get out there.
For his first time on a surfboard, Don Benson held his own. Benson came all the way from Colorado to celebrate the life of Malaya, his goddaughter.
That was probably the nicest send-off for a loving soul like her that could happen.
Soul of our beautiful Malaya.
After a brief ceremony on the beach, surfers grabbed a flower and hit the water. Dozens circled past the breakers to say one last goodbye to Malaya. A unique goodbye, but family says if you know her father, Misha, it was the only way to start the healing process.
Peaceful feeling for my brother is to be at the ocean, to be surfing, to be surrounded by water and the waves.
Kira Connie and her sister next to her, Sarah Nelson, grew up on this beach with their brother Misha. The two sisters live in different parts of the country now, but say they feel grateful to know so many people support their brother.
We're a close-knit community, and I think even though we've moved away and lots of folks have, when something like this happens, it's just been so amazing to see everybody come together and share the love.
Family and friends got back to the beach the only right way to do so, by riding the waves in. Misha's sisters tell me Malaya was always right by her father's side, and the family may never fully heal, but Sunday's paddle out is the best way to start.
A huge part of our life is now missing, but I feel like Misha will always be able to come out here and go surf and have a part of her.
Remember this and remember everyone that came out today.
The family tells me flowers and other amenities of the event were donated. Malaya's viewing was this evening and her funeral is tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the McMillan Small Funeral Home on 67th Avenue North in Myrtle Beach. Reporting in the studio, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13. And Megan Vaught tells me the road floods with traffic when parents come to drop off and pick up their kids, which becomes an issue, he says, because of how fast people are driving up and down the road when students are trying to cross the street.
People don't think to stop.
Accident waiting to happen.
If I was an inch closer, I would have gotten hit.
This is Jacob Davis. He's a freshman at Carolina Forest High School. He lives right across the street and walks back and forth to school each day, but tells me the walk takes longer than you'd think.
It normally takes me a good 3 minutes before I can actually get a time to cross. I've got a tiny gap before cars are gonna come again, so I literally book it across the street.
This isn't a 2-lane country road that these kids are crossing to get back and forth to school. It's 4 lanes of traffic, and I'm told when parents are coming to pick up or drop off their kids, it can get pretty busy. Davis tells me he's had a few close calls with cars, and he would take any relief from the traffic, like a light, a crosswalk, or a police officer.
After the football games, they normally have a cop sitting out here directing traffic, which is great. I mean, if you can do that after a football game, why can't you do it at the beginning of school and at the end of school?
Well, the answer is pretty simple.
We can't afford to put a policeman at every high school. The county doesn't have the manpower to do that kind of thing.
Horry County Council member Johnny Vaught tells me he knows how dangerous the road is. His daughter goes to the school. He tells me what they have been able to afford is this speed monitor and have officers occasionally come out to monitor traffic. Officers issued a few tickets, which Vaught tells me slowed down the drivers, but it's only a temporary fix.
We can put somebody out there directing traffic or writing tickets or whatever, but they go away for 2 or 3 months and people forget about it.
Right now, Vaught tells me he's talking with Carolina Forest Principal Gade Driggers and School Board Representative John Poston about their options. He says they're considering changing the traffic flow patterns, but right now it's all still just talks and there's no timeline. Live here in the newsroom, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13. Law enforcement tell me after every effort has been exhausted, a warrant is filed away and considered unable to locate. In a lot of cases, deputies know exactly where the wanted person is and are unable to make an arrest due to legal restrictions. And that person gets off scot-free. Over the last several months, I've found out why so many people wanted for crimes here in Horry County are still on the loose.
Try to attempt to locate some of these people that have warrants on them. Whether it be successful or not is a different story.
Right now, Deputy Chris Palmer has 65 active warrants he's pursuing. That number is always changing.
I've gained, I think, about 20 yesterday.
Palmer will go door to door throughout the county looking for people who are wanted.
It's a hit and miss. I've had days where I served up to 10. Some days back I served but 1 or 2.
A lot of criminals know how to avoid the police when they're wanted.
Hopefully they'll slip and we'll be there to catch them.
Deputies have resources and tools to locate these criminals, but there are only so many times they can visit someone's home or job. And after a while, the warrants that aren't found will be sent here. Stacked by the thousands are warrants that have been labeled unable to locate.
You hear UTL, unable to locate. That doesn't mean that warrant's going away. I mean, it's still active and it's going to remain active until it's cleared.
The Sheriff's Department tells us at the most recent count, there were 16,248 active warrants filed away. Who are these people and what are their crimes? I requested several times a list of all active warrants, including UTLs from the Sheriff's Department. However, they told me my request was impossible to fill due to privacy issues. But through the solicitor's office, I was able to obtain every single bench warrant that is currently active throughout the entire county. A bench warrant is for someone who skipped their court date, but the 22-page document from the solicitor's office also included the original crimes they were wanted for. There were more than 1,000 crimes listed. Most are misdemeanors, but some are felonies like assault, robbery, arson, and even attempted murder.
We feel bad for these individuals that go years without having justice for the warrant that's out there, you know, in their name.
So what is stopping law enforcement from making arrests when they know exactly where the offenders are? A lot of times, it's the cost.
It's simply not economically feasible for the county to be able to extradite 16,000 people.
It's not law enforcement that makes the decision.
It all boils down to, will the solicitor approve us to go across state lines to get them if they get stopped?
So I sat down with Horry County Solicitor Jimmy Richardson and asked, when is the county willing to go after these people who commit crimes here and escape justice simply by driving a few hundred miles away?
There's really no perfect system.
Richardson says each warrant is taken on a case-by-case basis. He says the county will not invest money into extradition when it costs more to taxpayers than the actual crime.
Of course, if they found someone wanted for kidnapping or murder or rape or anything really bad, we would extradite from anywhere in the nation.
And they've done so in the past. In 2009, Bruce Olin Underwood was charged with murder. He then fled the state. Horry County spent more than $2,000 to extradite Underwood back to the county. He was sentenced to 22 years without parole. Even with the amount of warrants the Sheriff's Department is able to bring in, the total number is hard to bring down.
We're getting 30, 40, 50, 60 warrants a day. The deputies have served a lot of warrants in the past few years. So, you know, they're out here working hard.
Back in service, code in.
And for deputies on the street like Palmer, they keep at it, regardless of how many warrants are active.
I'll end up getting some of them, but which ones is hard to say.
And some of the warrants that have been labeled UTL date back decades. Sergeant Benton tells me the department was able to remove more than 2,100 warrants from the filing room because of this. He says once a warrant hits 10 years, it is sent back to the magistrate's office. In 2014, nearly 400 warrants were removed because of the fact that they were 10 years older. He says in some cases, the people on these warrants are not even still alive. The most recent count of warrants served here in Horry County for the month of January is 395. Live here in the studio, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13.